So here I am with my flower setup. Let's show you an example. Up. So this base right here is for the petals. Up. So first things first, I first started with the shape, base open shape. So it starts with the petal shape, done using 3 nodes. I using the code from Nickwood at some point to transform my box into some kind of roundish petal shape. That I can then uh, using another node wrangle modify. I'm then proceeding to create the root groups that I will need. So here I'm catching up the root point. Here I'm creating the sensor group up, and I'm creating the few noise attributes that I need. So here adding the noise to the end, the tip, sorry, of the petal, bending slightly the sides and moving it to the center, and creating the roots group. That will be everything that I need. So using this, I have my base petal shape. I'm then using a point generate simply to create a set of points that I'll use to copy onto. And all those points, I'm creating a base setup that I'm animating. It will be used to de-intersect my flower, my petals, creating the orient attributes and randomizing a bit the p scale, and copying onto it special shapes that are manually oriented. Uh, Using that, I'm then applying something that I don't remember where I got it from. It was quite a brilliant technique, I must admit, that allows me to take a single line and project onto it my petal using the curve from the line. It's very efficient, very cool, and I'm going to use it a lot more in the future. Using that for all my attributes and using a transform node to shrink a bit the petals on the top, I'm then using my animation can get back my flower with my UVs, of course. But as you can see, it's intersecting. So next things next, we got a Venom solver that will allow me to de-intersect simply using a simple soft and constraint to animation up that will run through this thing and output a clean topology that is not intersecting. So up, I can then up, catch this, up, perfect. So now I have this, where at the end I had this. So it's quite useful, really. Up and clap. So here I got the main animation. So the first thing I did was to import my base shape, and then I decided to simply warp it around and bend it first thing first. So using simple bend attributes related to the gradients and animated slightly by offsetting slightly the animation, I created a base animation that I will then use inside another Venom solver, uh, warp it around, using another Venom solver to continue the animation after the 100th frame, and then caching everything up inside another bloom. So here is the final animation. Up. And then, of course, I can subdivide one bit, smooth it out, and add a transform node to have a bit control over the animation again. Whoop. So after working on my flower, I had to create a whole flower generation for my sorry. I had to create a whole setup for generating flowers for a little short animation film. So first thing first, I decided to get up my setup once again, modify things a bit to add the sepals in the middle, and keep my animation. And using a little volume animation, I could add something a bit plumpy in the middle. I liked it a lot. But then exporting it to USD, I kept everything, renamed everything to have a proper setup, and I had something ready to go out. I then proceeding to create a tool to generate different kind of lists. So the first one was this one, which once again respond is not simulated. This one is entirely procedurally generated. I'm using a bit of channel uh, editor to add this legal wiggle motion at the end, but everything is procedurally generated. And same thing with this one up, which obeys the same setup, and this one also, which it's a smaller one up. Perfect. So now that I have my different kind of flowers, I could use this to generate a base bloom. This one is the big setup. So I'm gonna recenter things a bit. Perfect. So the first thing that I did was to up first define my curves. So the first curve that I had was to up create a line, resampling, sorting everything to after a sweep to create something that will have the shape of my curve, then create my points that will guide my position, and then adding the shortest path, creating the shortest path, fusing everything, then resmoothing and resampling to create my base shape. This one will end up being used everything uh, from my all my instances. Sorry. I then up animated it. So using smooth motion. Okay, this one is animated because of course I had to use it for my animation. But I animated my controls here, my global seeds, to have something different every time and display the power from my setup. So here it's supposed to be a simple generator that grows along the way uh, as my plant grows. So this was my base for my plants, but I also needed to add my flowers. So up, I decided to follow two different steps. The first one was to create flowers at the end, so at the tips of my branches. I had flowers flowing out and growing and opening at the end. So I used a channel operator to modify the timing at which my flowers were opening, as well as modifying the time shifts right there to have a bit of randomness also. Uh, and for the other one, I decided to use my base curve, scatter points onto it, and then moving them and starting my flower opening animation relative to the growth from my curve. So here I have my burst timing, and using that I creating an attribute bloom that will drive my channel operator to bloom the flower. So as soon as the plant was growing next to it, my flower would start to bloom. And of course, using orientation to have them always look outward, it was quite nice. And then I had my flowers added to my base mesh. So the one for the tip and the one in the middle. I then decided to generate my different kind of leaves. So the first leaves are the one at the root, following exactly the same kind of setup. I added all the leaves that I needed, and after merging everything inside one, I had, and after caching of course, and naming everything, I had something to export as a USD to be able to render it afterwards. My whole mesh is already UV unwrapped. So for the one in the middle, I knew that I would use procedural shading and not texture because it's moving. So I ended up simply reducing the size of the UV map, but everything else is scaled along in one single UV texture, so that way I can texture everything if I need to. And then, of course, to be sure that it worked, I had a simple debug function. But here was my final result. A flower a flower growing out quite easily and quite nicely, fully animated procedurally. And for this part, I had absolutely no simulation. It was entirely procedurally done. Uh, so here's an example also from my thing. So this one was my base flower used in the film. So this one was quite nice. I had not many intersection, and the animation was flowing quite nicely. So I used that to then create a little pop simulation just to add to the overall flavor of the plant growing. And so up, here was my final animation. Oop, boop. Okay, I'm quite proud of it because it was for finally a project, and I had a bit of fun on this one actually. Oof.